Hello everybody, I'm Parveen and this is the App DNA channel where we talk about all things apps. Last time I showed you how you can build a donor management system app with our low-code platform Zoho Creator, and today I'll be talking to you about a very exciting app, and that is the event management app. Now events excite all of us because we have been a part of event at some time or the other, be it a college fest or a birthday party, and then why wouldn't you want to know how to build an app that could manage this event right from the start to the end? The basics of organizing an event remain the same. If you analyze any event that you would have organized, you would agree that there are 5 desirable features that you need in this app today. The first feature is that it should allow you to create new events and capture the event information like venue, number of seats, whether it's a free or paid event, etc. The second is that it should allow participants to register for your event through a registration link that can be shared socially. The third is that once your participants have entered into the app should show them the event that they would like to participate for and how many seats are there for the event. The fourth is that the app should also tell the participant how many seats are available and whether the seats that they have requested for does not exceed the number of seats that are available for the event. And the fifth is that it should have a calendar dashboard where the participants can check for all the events that are running on and that they can participate for. Now the first feature needs that we create forms in Creator that will hold the information about the events and the participants. We need to know that there are 2 roles in this app. The first role is of the organizer or the admin who needs access to all the forms, respectively the registration form and the event form. But the second role is of the participant who needs access to the registration form alone. Welcome to the Creator homepage where we will be building our event management app today. Here on the right hand side we have an option to create a new application or import a file. If you have already been using spreadsheets to manage your events, you can simply import them and create a new application. I'll hit a new application and here I'll be prompted to create one from scratch. This is the app gallery page where we have pre-made applications customized for you which you can simply install and start using. We have our event management app here which I'll be installing later after the tutorial. Now I'll create this from scratch and I'll name it as Event Management 2018. And it takes me to create a new form. Now as discussed, we need 2 forms today. One is the event form which we need for the organizer to keep track of the events. So we'll create that form first, and I want to create my form from blank and I'll name it as event form. Now this is the drag and drop interface that I was telling you about. Here are the data elements that we will drag and drop in this workspace to create our form. What do we need to know from our event form? We want to know the event name. So I'll use the single line field here and drop it here and name it as event name. Next, I want to know a little bit of description. So I'll use the multi-line field here and name it as description. Next, I want to know the start date and the end date of the event, so I will use the date fields here. And then I want to know the number of seats that would be there in this event, so I'll use the number fields here and name it as number of seats. Also, I would want to know the address, so I can simply use the address field here and hit done. Access this application from the blue button here. It will take us to the live mode of the app. The difference between the live mode and the edit mode is that in the live mode we see the app running, whereas in the edit mode we build the app. Now when we access this application, we can see our first event form up and running. This is the form, and I'll quickly add my first event, which is going to be a New Year's party. I fill up the start date and the end date, and the number of seats can be 100. I select an address and then I hit. Now every time we submit a form in Creator, the data gets saved in a report. So in this event form report, we would find our New Year's party recorded here. Now we go back to edit our application so that we can create the second form, that is the registration form, which would be needed by the participants. We hit the plus here and we create a new form from blank and name it as registration form. We are going to build this form the same way by dragging and dropping elements as we did in the event form. The first field that I want is the lookup field. The lookup field is a very special field because it is used to relate two forms so that we can fetch the data residing in another form for the current form. I'm going to use the event form, and the data I want is the event name, so I hit done. And then I rename the field from event form to event name. Now, we can also choose the fields that we want to be displayed from this form. So along with event name, I also want to know the number of seats that are available in general for this event. And then I'm going to use a number field to know the number of seats that are currently available for the event and rename it as number of seats available. So this field is going to show me the number of seats that are currently available after the other participants have requested their seats. Now I'm going to use another number field, and this one is going to be named as the number of seats requested. And then we are going to use the name and the email field for the participant. Now our registration form is also ready, so I hit done and go to the live mode to check our registration form. So this is our registration form, and our lookup is working because it shows the New Year's party. It is calling the data from the event form, and then we can add the number of seats requested, the name and the email field. But we would enter the data in the registration form later after we are done with the second step. Once our registration form is ready, the second feature says that we should send this registration link to people, and for that we need to publish our registration form. Let's see how to do that. That is sharing the registration form with the world. We go back to edit our application, and then we go to settings, where under the users and control we see this publish button. Now what publishing means that we are making this form public so that users do not need to log in into the form in any way to access it. It's accessible from anywhere. You publish it on Facebook, on Instagram, anywhere, and the link would be available to everyone. So it says here that you haven't published anything yet. I want to publish my registration form, and I hit publish. And it would give me this permalink, which I can copy to clipboard. And then let's see if our publishing works by going to a new tab and clicking this link here and accessing the form. So you see, I do not need to link in from another tab. I can simply go select my event name, and then I can fill the registration form. So you can just go ahead when you share this link on Facebook or any of your other pages. This is how sharing the registration form with your users works. Now, the third step that we are going to take is that we need to know the number of seats that are currently available when a participant clicks on this registration event. So now when we click on the New Year's party, we know that the total number of seats are 100, but we actually don't know the number of seats available currently because other participants would also have booked some seats, right? So we are going to code a little bit of coding so that the number of seats that are currently available shows up in this registration form. For that, we have to create a new workflow. So we hit this plus button over here, asks us to create a new component. I want to create a workflow, which is Deluge coding, which is very easy. You'd see it. Action, I want to perform it while using the form, and the form that I want is the registration form. So when we're using the registration form, I want this activity to happen. Run when a record is created or edited, and I'm gonna name my workflow as seats availability. Add new action, and I'm gonna use a custom action on user input, and the moment someone enters the event name, I want this action to run. Now, the Deluge coding, this coding workspace is also very much drag and drop like our form building. These are the Deluge tasks, which are blocks of code pre-built for us so that we can simply drag and drop and use them. So let's start creating our workflow. So the first code I'm going to use is the fetch records. What the fetch record does is it takes the records residing in another form and it brings it to our current workflow. So I'm going to use a variable. A variable can be anything. I'm going to name it as event seats. The form I want is the registration, is the event form because the events are residing in the events form. The field is ID. ID is a unique identifier by creator. It is how creator identifies unique records. The operand is equals, the expression is input.eventName dot number of seats. This line fetches the number of seats of the records that match the input that is given by the participant. So when a participant selects New Year's party, our variable goes to each of the records and it searches for all the IDs that match the New Year's party, and then it fetches the number of seats residing in that record. The next code that we want is again the fetch records. This one would be to know the seats booked by the participants. So we would name it as seats booked. The form is registration form. The field is event name. Operand is equals input dot event name dot sum of number of seats requested. Now what this line does is this variable goes to the registration form. It selects for all the records that match the event name. So if our participant is looking for New Year's party, it fetches the records that match New Year's party and then finds out the sum of all the number of seats requested. So if there are 3 records by 3 participants and they have requested 5, 10, 15, so it adds up all this sum of the number of seats requested and it brings it to this workflow. Now that we know the number of seats that are available in an event altogether by the event seats and the number of seats that have been booked with the seats booked, when we subtract seats booked from the event seats, we will get the number of seats available. So you understand it's pretty basic mathematics, only that it needs to be written in form that the app can understand. Now we go to our next coding, that is the if statement. So the condition is if event seats minus seats booked. So event seats minus seats booked is greater than 0, then I need an alert that the available seats are. Now this if statement would give us the available seats by subtracting the seats booked from the event seats. Else if the same. If event seats minus seats booked equals 0, then the alerts should be no seats are available. And input.event name should be null. What this line of code does, because there are no seats available, it does not allow the participant to select any event name. So there are no useless records lying around. Now that we are done with the 2 scenarios where either there are seats available or not available, what we want next is that the number of seats available which was there in the form should now be visible with the number of seats that are available. So we use input dot number of seats available equals event seats minus seats booked. Next, we disable the number of seats available so that the participant himself cannot play around with it. We're done with our coding. I hope you understood it, and we are going to save it and hit done. Access our registration form, which is open in another link, and we're going to reload it and see whether the workflow works. Now when we select the event name and we select New Year's party, it says that the available seats are 100. So our registration form workflow is working and we know the seat availability of the event that we are choosing for. Now that we are done with our forms and reports, the 4th feature would take us to the workflow where we would set up a logic in the app that would check out the events and the number of seats that are available for that event, and also check if the number of seats demanded by the participant does not exceed the number of seats that are available to them. So let's check out workflows in Creator. For step 4, we go back to edit our application and we add a new workflow the same way we made the last one. This one is while using the form, registration form, run when a record is created, and I'll name it as validating number of seats. Add new action. And action time will be custom action and on validate, because we are going to validate whether the number of seats requested is not more than the number of seats currently available for the event. And I'm gonna use the same kind of drag and drop interface, and I'm gonna use a very pretty simple line of code with the if statement. So this one would say that if the number of seats requested, so input dot number of seats requested is greater than input dot number of seats available, then alert. Requested seats cannot be more than available seats. And then we want the number of seats requested to be null because we don't want any input to be recorded right here because the seats are more than the number of available seats. We want them to re-enter the number of seats requested based on what's available. So if there's only 10 seats, we want them to put something lesser than 10 and then cancel submit so that the form is cancelled and it's not submitted. Here we go. This coding was pretty easy. We save it and we check out the app right now. So we access this application. We go to our registration form. Select the event name, New Year's party. The available seats are 100. Now I will try to request, let's say 5. And hit submit. Now the data has been added successfully and in the registration form report, you will see that I have requested for 5 seats. Now let's go back to the registration form and again select it, and this time it says 95. So it's automatically doing the calculation for us. Now let's say since I know the number of seats is 95, let me put 100 and let's see what happens. This time when I click submit, it says requested seats cannot be more than number of available seats. When I click OK, it just cancels the submit. So I have to reload the registration form, and now when I put something like 2, this will happen. I go to the report and here it is. So the 4th feature is also running successfully. We are done with 4 features, but the 5th feature is what would add color to the app, and that is the calendar. A calendar is very necessary because it would hold all the events sequentially so that the participant can come and check them out and book them accordingly. So let's make the 5th feature, that is the calendar. To create the calendar, we'll go back to edit our application, and this time we will try to create a new report. So we have created a form, we have created workflows, and now we'll be creating a report. What type of report do we want to make? I want to make a calendar based on the form event. Event title should be event name, event dates, event starts on the start date, event ends on the end date. So you see it's pretty intuitive, and I'm going to name it as events calendar. Now when I go to access this application, you'll see that my New Year's party is right here. So any other events that I put would be showcased in this calendar. So wasn't the calendar really easy to make? Now that we are done with all the 5 features of the app, let's take a look at the app and try to create a workflow end to end, how it would look. So let us get started. Let's say I want to have a cancer awareness seminar online. I have the start date and the end date. I have the number of seats. I don't need an address because it's online, so I just submit it. And then when I go to the event form report, I have the cancer awareness seminar that is going to happen online. And then I go to the event calendar. So this event calendar I can share with my audience so they can click on whichever event they want, so they can see this cancer awareness seminar here. They will get to see all the details. And then you share the registration form with them so they can select the cancer awareness seminar. They know that there are 20 seats available. Let's say they want 21 seats, and when they try to submit it, it says it cannot be more than the number of available seats. So they just try to have 2 and then they submit it. So in the registration form report, we have the test name here who requested 2 seats. So this was our basic app end to end. Now that we are done with our app, I promised you to show you. Now remember the app gallery apps that I was showing you in the home page. Now we'll go and have a look at the event management app that was already pre-built by our developers and see what all extra features they have. The event management app in our gallery, so we will go to creator.zoho.com once again. And we'll try to install the event management app gallery that we had. So we go to new application and we install this application here, event management one. And let's see what our developers have in this app. So as you can see, it is much more colorful and sophisticated. We have categories and locations and search, and then this is the admin panel where we can create new events. We have paid event bookings, we have free, we have venues, event categories. So you can just play around with this app. I'll leave it for you so that you can install it and see what all you can do with it. Thanks for bearing with me all this while, and if you have any comments related to this app or low-code platforms, just shoot in the comments below. Also share and subscribe to our channel for more such app videos, and keep making apps. Thanks.